Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Pure Motivation Podcast Show. I'm your host, Dimitri Jankoulis. And as always, we're talking your mindset, your mission. We're talking about your muscle. We're talking about your macronutrients and, most importantly, your marriage. Today, we're focusing on muscle. And we're talking about the 5 best exercises that an ectomorphic person should do to gain the biggest amount of weight, to gain as much strength as possible, and to have a base foundation for future lifting. And as always, we are in the beautiful Pure Motivation Fitness, and we're going to get started. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, guys, I'm super pumped up to give you guys this amazing episode. And why I'm doing this is because I want to make sure I can help each and every one of you out there that are struggling to put on weight just like I did. You see, when I first started training years ago, 29 years ago, I struggled to put on weight. I was doing swimming, I was doing wrestling, I was doing track and field and football. And one of my coaches mentioned to me that you're doing it wrong. And the only way to get strength and to build size is to follow a workout based on your body type. So when I went into the Arnold Encyclopedia, this was 29 years ago, and I researched, I think it was chapter 11 or 12, and I noticed the body type philosophy. You'll see a few pictures on the side here. It's clear and obvious that we all are built differently. So the workout you do, the nutrition you do, the recovery you have should all be different. In this video, not only am I going to give you a demonstration of the exercise, but I'm going to break it down set for set, rep for rep, and tell you what's important to follow on. Now, before we begin, we want to talk about the FITT principles, something that's underlooked across the society. What are the FITT principles? You're looking at them right here. They're F.I.T.T, standing for frequency, standing for intensity, standing for the type of exercise, and the time. Now, these variables can be broken down and should be different for each body type. If we're talking about body types, which are the ectomorphic body type, we're typically talking about someone that is typically taller and lankier in size. You're typically between the heights of 5'7" to 6 feet plus. We're talking about people with narrow shoulders, narrow waist, and long limbs. Typically smaller joints. You're looking at smaller ankles, neck, wrists, elbow size, and they have a fast metabolism. It's very hard to gain weight, and a lot of times when you focus on training more frequently than normal or past your FITT principles, you may end up doing worse damage, which is losing weight because you're burning too many calories, you're not consuming the calories you need, and the body's just going to say, hey, I need to break down some muscle tissue to get the energy I need. So if we're talking FITT principles for the ectomorph, we want to think of breaking them down easy. First, for the F, you want to look at training between 3 to 4 times a week maximum. If you're just starting off and you want to go for power and strength, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split is perfect for you. Why? If you're overtraining, you won't be able to grow any muscle because you need to consume higher calories than normal. You need to be in a caloric surplus on a regular basis to get your results. So if you're already burning a lot of calories and you want to go from 2-3 days a week to 5 because you heard one of your buddies who's doing that, or you're following an Instagram influencer, it's not going to work for you. If you go 3 to 4 days, you have enough time to shock the body, stimulate muscle tissue, tear down microfibers of the muscle, and then fuel properly. And most importantly, you got to rest to grow. That's the only time you grow. So if we're talking about the second variable, which is the intensity, the I in the FITT principle, we're talking about how hard you're working, how hard your heart rate is working throughout the workout. We're talking about intensity as of load as well. So an easy way to find your target heart rate is by taking 220 minus your age. So if I go 220 minus my age, I'm at 174 beats per minute. Now this is my maximum heart rate. I didn't come up with this formula. A guy called Professor Borg did. You go 220 minus age and that's your number. Now, if I want to challenge myself today and Coach Dimitri says, I want you between 80 to 90% of a heart rate intensity, I'm just going to go 174 times 0.8. That's 139 beats per minute. And if I go 174 times 0.9, that's 156.6 beats per minute. So if you've got an Apple Watch, if you've got a heart rate monitor, if you're tracking your intensity and you find out that you're in that zone, you're between 80 to 90%. If I'm at a heart rate of 166 while I'm training, I'm in the 95 percentile, which is harder than I am. So now my variables aren't consistent. So if one day you come in and you're at 70%, the next day 80%, the next day 90, back to 70, you're not keeping consistency. Another variable when it comes to intensity is the load you're lifting. A lot of times people are trying to put on muscle and trying to gain weight and they're stuck with a load that's too light. you should be able to do your first repetitions around 12 reps for your nice warm-up. And then for your second, third, and fourth set, you want to be looking at increasing the weight and dropping the repetitions down. So you should be lifting a weight that's going to be able to give you around 6 to 8 repetitions maximum. If you're able to do 10 reps on your first set, 10 reps on your second, 10 reps on your third, you're lifting too light. It's not going to work. Your body's not going to get a shock. Okay, now we're talking type of exercise. So remember, it's key to always understand and distinguish yourself from what the goal you want to get to and what base we're starting with. If we're starting with an ectomorphic person, we want to look at what type of exercise they should be doing. A, you should not be doing a lot of cable exercises. Why? Cables are isolation exercises. If I stand and do a cable crossover and I'm working on isolating just my chest, I'm going to be using just my chest muscles, my pectoralis major and minor, whereas if I'm doing a bench press or a dumbbell pullover or an incline bench press, I'm using far more muscle groups that are going to stimulate more shock to the brain. So the type of exercises you should be sticking to are going to A, be mastering your own body weight. If you can't do a pull-up and you can't do a push-up, why are we jumping to a bench press? It's not working. Stick with big compound movements after you've mastered your body weight. So we're looking at kettlebells, we're looking at dumbbells, we're looking at barbells, we're looking at hammer strength machines, we're looking at power racks where you can rack the weight in and out. And you also want to look at getting a spotter when you're lifting heavy or using safety bars. So if we're talking lifting heavy and being safe, you want to make sure that either you're using something like this, a Smith machine, if you're by yourself. The Smith machine is an old school form of strength training equipment. And the major benefit of having something like this is if I'm by myself and I'm going to be benching a hard, heavy weight and I don't got no one around me or I'm too afraid to ask someone for a spot, I can literally change the level of how low I want to go down to. And if I'm coming up and I'm stuck, I could just clip the bar versus me getting stuck in a dangerous position and getting hurt. Another cool thing about using a Smith machine is if I want to go heavy and I'm by myself, I can do as many reps as needed. And if I need to, I can change the repetition and just go from a certain range. Let's say I'm going from my lower range. And if I know that this is super heavy and I cannot go above it, I could just clip that and save myself the ability of getting injured. The second form of safety feature equipment that you can use in a gym is going to be power cages, okay, or power racks. Now, what I love about this compared to the Smith machine is this allows you to move freely in the biomechanical positions that your body can do and allows your body to move freely using gravity and also helping you get better at stabilizing your joints and getting proper form. The Smith machine only runs up and down. So if I have poor posture and as I'm squatting, I can't push my hips back enough and I slightly lean to one side, on the Smith machine, I won't have the ability to correct that. And it's going to force me to stay in that straight up and down line. Whereas if I'm using a barbell and I set up the safety rack, if I want to go to a heavy weight and I'm afraid, what I can just do is set this up where, let's say, I go to number 6. And I'm by myself. I don't want to ask for a spotter. No one's around the gym. I can set this up for my last set where I get under the rack, I step back, and as I'm going to squat, I know I may get only 2 reps with this. I can literally come down, come down, come down. I can touch and come right back up. Again, I'm still using my free motion. It's a free weight movement. I got gravity working with me. I can change the position of my body. If I need to push my hips out more or arch my back more, I can. And most importantly, if I get stuck, I'm right here. I can just come out underneath. A lot of times people let their ego control them when they're training and they don't want to have safety racks. They don't want to have things around them to help them. And then when they go for that 1 extra rep or they try to add 10 more pounds, they get injured. Lastly, we're talking about having objects or having fixed range of motion. Why do we want to have fixed range of motion, Dimitri, if we're trying to get big and bulky and strong? Because certain movements can hurt you. Certain movements can place your joints in high stress areas because of the fact that the ectomorphic person is typically longer, has a lankier body, and has more range of motion. So for example, if I'm doing a dumbbell press and I'm by myself and I have no one to watch my form and I really want to go deep with my eccentric phase, the lowering phase, as I come back and I'm lowering the weight, Watch what happens. I'm going below 90 degrees. Now from here to here, it's all shoulder, especially shoulder joints. There's a lot of grinding going in there. Now from here to here, it's a chest press. But if I'm by myself and I can't see my form, I may feel that, oh, going down all the way is great. And in reality, what I'm doing with my arms is I'm driving down. This is 90. This is chest activation. That's not chest activation. From here to here, I'm going to put a lot of damage and pressure on my shoulders. And especially if you're a tall, long person, 6 feet tall, you got long limbs, compared to the mesomorphic person that's much shorter, more stockier, you're going to put a lot of pressure on your shoulders. So a variation to this can simply be coming to the floor. And I've done these many times when I'm by myself, either with a bench press or a dumbbell. The floor is going to block you at 90 degrees, which is perfect because all we're doing is working the chest now. So whether I have a shoulder injury, whether I have a chest pain, back pain, as I lower, boom, I stop to 90 and I come right back up. Now the activation is sitting only in the chest, nothing more, nothing less. And it shows me the range of motion that I should be hitting, okay? The same thing goes for lower body. I got 2 boxes here, okay? If I'm squatting and I don't have access to a power rack or a power cage or a Smith machine, and I'm at home, I can take a chair. I can sit up, and if I want to get my squat to a low area, if I'm a beginner, I'll use a higher box. So whether I'm going to goblet squat, whether I'm going to back squat, whether I'm going to front squat, you want to make sure that you have consistency with your range of motion. So if I don't have this, one squat may be to here, one squat may be down to here, it's going to keep changing. So there's more chance of injury because when you're not paying attention, that one extra rep where you go a little lower, hurt my back and I can't get up. Versus grabbing whatever weight you want, racking it up, and knowing that as soon as I come down and my glutes touch that box, inhale, inhale, right back up. It's consistent, it's accurate, it ain't gonna change, it's gonna stay there for everyone. So if I use a box when I'm doing heavy movements for squats, I can see how strong I'm getting. If I'm gonna be using the first 4 sets out of my 5 sets at a heavy weight, I can make them be really, really low. And then my last set, I'll go a little heavier. Let's say I'm doing 200 pounds, 200, 200, 200. On my last 250, 300, go right here. Less range of motion, right back up. It doesn't mean you're gonna be losing intensity, it means you're gonna be safe. Lastly, we're gonna show you the last part of training safely when you're lifting heavy for the hinge movements. That's your backside, your hamstrings, and any type of Romanian deadlift or any type of movement that requires you to hinge back. A lot of people don't have some kind of barrier or some kind of stoppage to remind them if they've gone too far back or if they're even going far back enough. So when I first started doing my hinges, without something behind you like a wall, you may think this is okay. But my first rep is to here, my second rep was to here, my third rep was here. So the reps keep changing. If I walk back and I say, this is a wall, and I want to hinge, 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 hinge from this position. Now I know that if I'm going to do the movement and I'm going to hold on to this barbell and I'm going to push back, I'm going to wait until I feel that wall. Bang. Now I know I'm in good position to come right back up. Okay, inhale going down, push, 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 push. Boom, I felt it. I come right back up. This is going to not only make sure that you don't do half range of motion, it's going to make sure that you always hit the full range of motion, and you want to have accurate reps through every set. Remember, we're lifting heavy. We're going to be struggling to get 6-7 reps. And as you can see in the next few videos, you want to make sure that you don't get injured, because if you get injured, you can't get big. And if you can't get big, training's not fun. All right, guys, so before we begin, quick little warm up. I usually do 3 to 4 minutes of a high intensity exercise to get my heart rate up. Then I follow it with about 6 to 7 exercises of a movement preparation. That's to work on increasing range of motion in the joints, to also work on twisting the spine and getting some rotational movements in there to prepare the body for the movements. And then we get into the heavy lift. Hip opener, super important. When you come home from work and you're tired, your lower body's tight, it's because your hips are tight. So these are really good to open up the hips and start getting that low back primed up for the movement. From here, you want to go into some sort of a glute opener. So from this position, we want to stay nice and low, travel away from the body, stretching the hip flexors, low back, and I want to come across. I'm warming up those glutes, and I'm getting my body prepared for any type of low body movement, okay? Transfer across, same thing, coming down low, come back up one more time. When you notice I'm rocking my spine, almost like a wave, because I want my vertebrae to get that motion prepared for the workout. From here, you want to go away from the body, stay nice and low. Again, hip flexors, low back and spine, travel low. I'm hitting the glutes and the spinal muscles. Okay, so we went through hips so far. We want to go to low back and glute area. So your basic hip thrusters are going to warm up the glutes. From this position, we want to go with the hip thrust rotation. Come up, reach over as far as you can. We want to activate that entire rib cage. All the muscles in the serratus anterior rib cage area. We're starting to warm up that spine. Okay, hip thrust up, twist over. From here, these are probably the most important movements that everyone should be doing every day, is a side lying book opener. Coming across. Now you only got to do like 5 repetitions of these each. From this position, I'm warming up the spine, keeping my legs low, upper torso, and the shoulder joint. The sideline clock is where you lie down and just reach over, stretch out. If you notice when you do this movement, your hand buckles off the floor and you can't touch, that's a sign of a shoulder dysfunction or a tight area. So you want to try to practice that. I'm going to switch across. Again, same thing, opening it up. Twist. If you need to range of motion, open the legs to get a little bit down because you want to be flat. Coming across. And then again, a sideline clock. I typically do 5 to 6 repetitions for all of these throughout the workout. That way, when I'm trying to lift heavy, I ain't going to get injured. And I'm warmed up. From here, I'm going to go to a cat camel, round the back, arch it up. Remember that vertebrae, that spine has been sitting down all day and you got compression. So you want to open up that area. And then from here, I'm going to go to elbow to sky. I'm going to go hands to my ears, elbow to elbow, keeping my face straight. I'm going to go all the way up and squeeze. I'm going to warm up those rotator cuff muscles. I never did these when I was younger because I didn't know about these things. And with the emergence of physiotherapy, foam rolling, a lot of people have changed their training. And over the last 10 years, this movement preparation has been king, okay? Next side. These are obviously done before the workout. And you notice that it's a dynamic warm-up. I'm not holding the position like a stretch. If I want to go hip flexors, I'm going to go in for the hip flexors and then back for the hamstring. And then in. This is different compared to a static stretch where I sit there and hold, increase range of motion, increase. The bad part about doing static first is the brain's preparing itself to be in stretched position. It's relaxed, it's working on elongated, and then all of a sudden you go back to your set and you contract it, make it worse. So we want to go dynamic movement, static at the end. Last one, hip forward, driving the hips down, head up, drive back into the hamstring stretch and hold. We're not going to give the body the ability to sit and understand the fact that we're not looking for range of motion increasing here. We're looking for warming up the joint and preparing for the work, all right? Then lastly, if you can't do this, guys, practice it. Get into a squatty position, primal movement, okay? Sit in this position. Keep your back arched. One hand down, one hand up. Okay, if you can't do this, then hold on to an object so you can sit in this low position. If you can't come this low, when you're squatting, don't try to go ass to grass because when you come down to this position, you will tear something. That's my warm-up. Let's get to the workout. Okay, guys, first we're going to talk about the pull-up. Why am I making this be the first movement for someone that wants to get strength, size, and gain weight? Because most people cannot pull their own body weight. And if you want to get big lats and you want to work on getting a strong back, if you can't pull your body weight and you're using a lat pull-down machine with cables, you're basically skipping a big step. Now, some of the tips you're going to see here when I do the workout, the first one is a weighted pull-up, as you can see in my video. Now, I'm using a weighted vest of 20 pounds because you want to challenge yourself and make sure that you can actually get stronger at picking up your own weight plus more weight. If you're constantly just doing your own body weight, how can you get stronger eventually? So what you do here is you try to do the first round on your own. You find out how many reps you get. Second round, you add weight. Your reps will be less. Third round, add weight. Your reps will be even less. Your fourth round, remove the weight and continue on your own. The next exercise you see me doing is called a gravitron machine pull-up. So if you're having trouble doing a pull-up and you're a strong dude or a dudette and you want to get stronger, use this machine because it'll help you get repetitions. What's important for the pull-up is being able to actually come down, squeeze those lats, and feel the movement working. If you're constantly trying to do a pull-up on your own, you can only get 2 reps, it's gonna frustrate you. And lastly, I'm doing a horizontal row, or what's called an inverted row. This is like a beginner step. If you can't do a regular pull-up and you wanna use a band, you can do that as well. But this is gonna be your primary step to help you build up your strength. You can wear a vest if you want to, or you don't have to, but it's gonna help you build that stamina for the pull-up. In the pull-up, the muscles involved are gonna be your lats, your traps, all the posterior chain muscles, most importantly, your forearm and your grip. And the reason why I like pull-ups compared to lat pull-down is the lat pull-down or any type of back rows are gonna isolate those muscle groups. We don't wanna isolate. We wanna work on every single muscle and joint to provide the most recruitment of muscle fibers and to get you bigger and stronger. So when we're doing the pull-up, you wanna first try to attempt to do it on your own. But if not, use the bends, because the bends are gonna assist you in getting used to the natural range of motion with assistance of pulling up. There's 2 variations you see here. The first one, I'm actually putting my leg into the band and pushing my leg straight. That's gonna stretch the band, give you more elasticity and more pull. So if you need more help, go straight-legged. The second version is knees bent. As you get stronger and you don't want so much assistance, bend your knees, clasp them together, and get your reps in. A key thing for pull-ups is change your grip. So wide grip, narrow wide grip. Narrow underhand grip, narrow overhand grip. Altered grip. Keep changing your grip to shock your body and used to using different muscles, different angles of your back, and different areas of your forearm and biceps to assist you. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a proper pull-up. Okay, second movement that we did, barbell squat or barbell walking lunge. Now, as you can see in the video, the squat is gonna primarily work not just lower body, but entire body. Because you gotta balance that barbell left or right, you're working obliques and entire thoracic cavity. Now you'll notice the first few reps, I'm doing them without a box because I'm comfortable. As you get heavier, you wanna make sure you have some kind of safety behind you to assist you. And as you notice, when I lower myself down, I pause for a second, I wait in that lower position versus going quickly. Because if you go quickly, 1, you can injure areas, and 2, you're not holding on time under tension. Now, when you see me doing the lunge, you'll notice that not only am I going alternate step, but I'm taking my time and I'm making sure that I go step, base with my back foot up. So if you see here, I go step with a back foot base. I lower like an elevator straight down. I'm not leaning forward. Lower like an elevator, keeping the back heel up, and then I come straight back up. A lot of people rush. They step, they go down at an angle, or they don't pause. If you don't pause, you don't hold that load, you don't own the weight. How can you increase the weight if you don't own it? Also, you're gonna see me go walking, and then I change it up to a stationary lunge, which is even more challenging and harder because now I gotta go up and down and I gotta constantly balance. And I'm noticing that by doing a stationary lunge, you're forced to do a lot more core. And then the last one is a reverse lunge where I'm simply taking a step back, going down, and then stepping forward, and I'm pausing. So that's gonna assist you in terms of getting a little bit of rest. If you wanna look at muscles involved, quads, hamstrings, low back, glutes, lumbar spine, traps, forearms, the entire body's involved. Free weight, always, in terms of type of exercise. And if you don't have access to a barbell, you can get kettlebells, rack them up in front of you as a front rack on your shoulders and perform the same movement. But the squat and the barbell lunge are musts if you want to grow. Number 3, a must-do exercise for the ectomorph that wants to put on power is a deadlift. Now, if you're looking at execution and difficulty, doing the barbell deadlift is going to be the hardest because you can rack on more weight. The only challenge is you have to make sure that from a side profile, my back is arched as I'm lowering myself down. If I come down and bend my back or I have tight shoulders, you want to switch to a trap bar deadlift, which I'll show you in a few seconds. The trap bar deadlift is a little easier because your hands are to the side, you're turning your body straight out, and as you lift up and down, there's no tendency for a bar to pull you forward, and your grip is not here. If you already have tight shoulders, why would you do the movement like this? Come to the side where I can pull back and retract. Next, you're gonna see me doing a sumo deadlift. Sumo deadlift, you can go a little bit heavier than the barbell because your feet are wider, you have a little bit less range of motion, and your hands are gripped in front of you. Same positioning as the first deadlift. You just want to focus on pushing your hips out so you're slightly hinging back more as you do the movement. And the third deadlift, in case you're working out from your home gym, your basement, your condo gym, and you don't have barbell to use, you can go kettlebell or dumbbell. Again, hand to the side of your body, much, much heavier. You're squatting down. Think of 3 cues. Think of grip, boom. Think of retraction, boom. And then from the bottom position, think of squat. Those 3 cues are gonna help you perform the deadlift perfectly without getting injured. And as always, if you're raising your weight, and if you're adding more load, drop the sets down. You can't be getting 12 reps every set by increasing your weight. If you do, you risk the chance of getting injured. Capiche? Next, we're talking about upper body. We're talking the biggest upper body movement next to your back is gonna be that big chest. Now, I choose the incline bench press and the incline dumbbell press because you're gonna activate a lot of anterior deltoid and involve the shoulders as well. Also, a lot of people have problems when they're doing bench press movements because they usually come to 90 degrees and then go below. So when you're on the incline, it kind of stops you from doing that. Now, the incline bench press or dumbbell press are going to involve the chest as your primary mover, your shoulders as your secondary, your triceps as your tertiary, your third movement. If you notice with the bench press, the 3 things I focus on before I lift is going to be my grip, bang, a nice good grip. Then I bring my elbows in. I don't want to have my elbows wide. You don't want to bench in this position. You want to be lower if possible. Now, it's tough because you can't really bend a bar, but it's harder for the shoulders when they separate and go further away from the shoulder joint. And you'll also notice that I clamp my feet to the floor and I'm pressing. A lot of people, when they press, they're just using upper body and their legs are loose. Use your legs to press from the floor, exert power through the floor, up your back, out your chest, into the movement. And once you're breathing, inhale when you go down, exhale when you go up. When you notice me doing the incline dumbbell press, I start with the dumbbells on my knees. A lot of people hurt their shoulders because to get the dumbbells up, they often start lifting with their forearms and their shoulders. 1, you're gonna tire yourself out. Number 2, you may tear something, especially if you have any type of weak forearms like tennis elbow or golfer's elbow. But number 3, if you're lifting heavy as I was, you wanna use your knees to thrust the weight back up to save that energy and then press. And the beauty about dumbbells, which has saved my shoulders from having to go through surgery twice, is I can change the degree as much as I want. This is a natural range of motion of the human body. Okay, you're noticing that I'm going up and down. This is natural. Now, I'm not doing this and then coming up because this is not natural. I'm pulling the arm away and going further when I can be here, which is much tighter for the glenohumeral joint and the humerus bone. Same thing, increase the load. You're using those small muscle groups, the chest, shoulders, and triceps together, so you don't need to worry about doing cable flies or decline flies or one-arm flies. Stick with free weights and dumbbells, and that's it. And if you're by yourself, like I mentioned before, drop to the ground, do your dumbbell press where your elbows hit the floor. That's what I do for my upper body chest movement. One of the best movements to build strength and size for the ectomorph, if we're talking upper body, is gonna be the barbell curl. I got 3 different variations here. And why do I say the barbell curl and not doing some kind of superset or some kind of smaller muscle group? Because when you're training heavy movements like back, your biceps are being involved. Pull-ups, your biceps are being involved. But if you want to separate them, look to bigger compound movements versus all the isolation, Arnold curl, cable curls. So the first one you see me doing here is going to be what gymnasts use to build the biggest peak on their arms, which is a narrow grip pull-up. Now, if I'm doing the pull-up and I'm actually going to be driving and sticking my chest out, I'm going to activate my lats.
But if I'm just gonna hang and I'm gonna pull with my arms, you'll notice it's gonna be a full pulling movement. And the beauty about doing the pull-up bicep curl is you're constantly stretching the muscle to the full range of motion. There's tension here. When I'm doing a bicep curl and I'm lowering it down, it's resting. There's tension, but it's resting versus being in this position, number one. Number two, I go to the barbell bicep curl. The barbell bicep curl first is gonna challenge you because the bar weighs 45 pounds. So I got 95 pounds on the bar in total, 25 on each side. But depending on your stance, if my feet are narrowed together and I'm curling, it's gonna be a little harder because I don't got a wider base. If I open my feet wider, much easier. If I go 1 foot straight and 1 foot behind, now I'm super stuck because I literally got to balance my entire core and coming up. So for the ectomorph, boom, boom, we want wide. We also want to notice that because we're lifting heavy, you may have a little bit of a cheat principle. Arnold came up with this. It's a proper cheat principle where instead of going perfect form and going up and down without moving at all, I'm going to buckle my knees. I'm going to pull my pelvis back an inch or two. So now I get a little bit of a swing, a little bit of a hinge, and then I can curl back up. Because when you're lifting heavy weight, it's impossible to go perfect form. You can't do a side lateral with perfect form with 40s. You need to bend down and give a little bit of movement with a little bit of a cheat rep. Now, you're gonna look at me doing now a barbell curl with an easy curl bar. Now the weight is distributed much closer to my body. I'm gonna feel it way more on my biceps versus the Olympic bar because of the fact that I don't have so much balance involved. But again, the more narrow your arms are to the side of your body, it's gonna work more the inner peak of the bicep head. The more your elbows are out wider, it's gonna work more of the rounding part of the bicep, okay? More of the meat head. And then lastly, you see me doing what's called a dumbbell hammer curl. These used to be something that I could never do before due to the fact that I had so much pain in my forearms for tennis elbow and golfer's elbow. I got 2 PRP injections over 10 years ago. It cleared that out. But the beauty of the hammer curl means I don't got a bar in front of me. So now if I really need to stretch the dumbbells, they can come to the side of my body. If I'm on a bench, I can lean back and let them hang out. And if I need to towards the end, I can get a little bit of my body to cheat the principle up. So when should you be doing bicep curls? In your first few months? I would say maybe on the 2nd month of training, because your first 2 months should be legs, chest, back, and shoulders, and that's it. But these are the 5 movements that I think any ectomorph trying to build size should stick with and just rotate the order of operations of doing them. Remember, repetitions, you want to make sure you're going from a 12, 10, 8, 6. If you're going to do a 5th set, 5 or 4. Make sure you're dropping the repetitions and you're increasing the weight. When it comes to rest, you need 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Don't be doing none of this 30 seconds or skipping rope in between. We're lifting heavy, we're sitting down. We're drinking some kind of Powerade, Gatorade, some kind of drink that's got glucose in it, some kind of, if you want to have electrolyte balance, like a BioSteel, you can. But if you're drinking water as compared to like a juice, you need some of that sugar before you work out. And most importantly, like I said in the beginning, the ectomorph needs a frequency of 3 times a week, maximum to 4. So do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split. If you're doing Monday, Tuesday back to back, you have to separate the body parts into a push-pull, which is something you should try doing your 2nd and 3rd phase. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it shed some light in terms of some of the principles that you can use to put on size and strength. I love the messages I get from you guys. I love the comments. I love the emails you guys are sending me. So please send me many more. I want to know what you want to hear about and what you want to learn. Drop a comment, hit subscribe so I can keep sending you amazing info like this. And if you live in the city of Vaughan, Ontario, and you're looking for help, come join us at Pure Motivation Fitness. Our body type specific program is unique and is customized to your needs. And if you don't live in the city of Vaughan and you live anywhere around the world and you're just tired of not being able to put on that muscle you want to gain, you're tired and fed up of still trying to lose those last 10, 15 pounds, or you're unmotivated, you're not as educated as you want to be in the sport of health and fitness, and you need someone to guide you, reach out to me on any social media platform, message me on YouTube, and I personally will sit down with you on a Zoom call and go through a strategy session to find out where you are, where you want to get to, and tell you how to fix that gap. My name is Coach Dimitri. Thanks for visiting us in this podcast episode. Thanks for giving me your time. And remember, when it comes to health and fitness, your attitude is everything. Let's big it up and let's have a fun summer. Let's go.